morning, everyone. My name is Robert Henriques. I'm also a director of Cosmic Roots Festival.
Good morning. My name is Harry J, and I am also director of Cosmic Roots Festival.
Thank you. Now, I have been reminded, just to let you know, if the fire alarm goes off, we're not expecting a fire drill today. So obviously, please then follow the fire exit signs out the building. I don't think there's any other. We'd meet in the Memorial Park, okay, just outside. The next thing I need to ask is, does anybody have any objections to the members who make up the subcommittee, which is us three? Okay, right, so what we move on now to is that all representations and procedural questions need to go through myself, the chair. Generally, no evidence may be submitted for the first time at the hearing unless all parties agree. So that means everything that's been sent in already, you will know, and those who are speaking should have brought their names forward as well. The evidence must always focus on promotion of the 4 licensing objectives, and to remind people, those are the prevention of crime and disorder, prevention of public nuisance, public safety, and protection of children from harm. We won't make a decision until after the representations have been gone through. And obviously we're conducting this in public unless it's exempt, and this is where we are, and it's also being webcast, I believe. Thank you. So the next bit we're going to do is we're going to hear the application and then the representations, and then obviously to clarify evidence that's given, but we won't be doing any cross-examination of any party on their case. So really this is about everyone being able to have a chance to speak and express both sides of what's going on, and then once we've done that, we will meet as a subcommittee in private to go through and make the decision. So I think we're now going to go to the licensing officer to outline the application.
Thank you. Today's hearing is to determine a new premises licence application made by Cut Shapes Throw Polygons Limited. Details of the application are shown within the report and the appendices. The application has been processed in accordance with the Act and associated regulations. The application relates to an annual weekend event and proposes the sale of alcohol, live and recorded music, late night refreshment, performance of dance, and the exhibition of films. These activities will be at times shown in paragraph 2.2 of the report. These are Thursday, 2 p.m. till 2 a.m, Friday, 11 a.m. till 5 a.m, Saturday, 11 a.m. till 6 a.m, and Sunday 11 a.m. till 23:59 p.m. Within their application, which can be found at Appendix 1, the applicant describes their proposed business as Cosmic Roots is an annual music and arts festival that has taken place successfully over 3 times in North Norfolk and is looking to relocate to Kingsmore Copse for 2023 and beyond. Music and dance, art installations and light shows, workshops and yoga, along with fine street food and local refreshments. The event takes place once a year on the second weekend of September annually. The activities will only apply to a single 4-day period in September each year. During the 28-day consultation period, a total of 74 opposing representations were received. These can be seen at Appendix 4. The objections relate to all 4 licensing objectives, which are the prevention of crime and disorder, public safety, the prevention of public nuisance, and the protection of children from harm. The objections mainly refer to anticipated noise from music at the event, traffic concerns, and disruption the proposed event may cause to residents and road users. During the 28-day consultation period, 1 supportive representation was received, which can be seen at Appendix 5.1. The applicant received some positive replies directly, which they provided to officers. These can be seen at Appendix 5.2-4. These were not sent by members of the public to the licensing team and activities. The SAG exists to consider event management proposals and to promote events. 2003, the licensing officers can only, as well as promoting the objectives, the license guidance at paragraph 1.5 and attached at appendix 8. These include giving the police and licensing authorities the power, recognizing the important role which pubs and other licensed premises play in our local communities by minimising the regulatory burden on businesses, encouraging innovation and supporting responsible premises. Providing a regulatory fit for the most appropriate licensing strategies for their local area, and encouraging greater community involvement in licensing decisions and giving local residents the opportunity to have their say regarding licensing decisions that may affect them. Licensees have a responsibility to ensure licensable activities are run responsibly and in compliance with licensing authorisations and conditions. When determining the application, the subcommittee must consider the evidence of all parties at today's hearing and have regard to the Council's licensing policy and guidance issued under the Section 182 of the Licensing Act 2003. Then take the steps they consider appropriate to promote the licensing objectives. The options available to the committee are contained under Section 18(4) of the Licensing Act 2003 and also shown within paragraph 5.3 of the report. Applications must be considered on their own merits, with activities and conditions needing to be tailored to the application. The Section 182 guidance includes a section regarding licence conditions at paragraph 1.16, which states that licence conditions must be practical, enforceable, related to the licensable activities of the premise, and worded such that they can be complied with. The subcommittee must focus today's hearing on the steps considered appropriate to promote the licensing objectives that have given rise to the representation and avoid straying into undisputed areas. In determining the application with a view to promoting the licensing objectives in the overall interests of the local community, the licensing authority must give appropriate weight to the following steps. The steps that are appropriate to promoting the licensing objectives, the representations, including supporting information presented by all parties, the guidance, and the Council's own statement of licensing policy. It is pertinent the subcommittee give comprehensive reasons for their decision. It is particularly important that reasons should address the extent to which the decision has been made with regard to the Council's statement of licensing policy and the Section 182 guidance. If the subcommittee determine to depart from the Council's statement of licensing policy, they must provide reasons behind any departure. The subcommittee must determine the application and provide their decision notice within 5 working days of today's hearing. This sets out the application and procedure to determine the application. Officers are now happy to answer any questions the subcommittee may have. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we move to ask if the applicant has any questions of the licensing team. Okay, thank you. And I'm going to turn to my fellow colleagues here and ask if they have any questions to ask the licensing team. Okay. Right, the applicant may also the licensing on the witnesses. So do we ask the public to speak at this point, if they're all the applicant now? Okay. Right, so now the applicant will be invited to present his case, or their case, I should say, including any witnesses, and comment, if you like.
Good morning, councillors, residents of Basingstoke and Dean. Today we're here to introduce to you Cosmic Roots Festival, a small independent music and arts festival that has been running under our successful management since 2018. Together, we make up the directors and main operation managers of the festival. Before we get into the details, we would like to mention that we have had a productive SAG meeting on the 19th of June with the party on my left. It was great to meet all the relevant authorities, and we are in ongoing positive dialogue with all these departments. of which can be found in pages 115 to 117 of the supplementary agenda. Also, minutes from this SAG meeting can be found in Appendix 3 of the original agenda. We understand that we are here today due to the anxieties and concerns raised by the local community regarding our premise licence application. We would like to assure you all that we have taken meticulous care planning this event and ensuring that it aligns with the objectives set forth by the licensing authorities. Further details of our specific licensing objectives can be found within page 41 and 42 of Appendix 2. During this statement, we would like to focus on two main areas, that is noise and traffic. We will also touch in a couple of areas of importance surrounding the festival. First and foremost, I'd like to discuss the issue of noise. We understand the impact of noise, the impact that noise can have on the surrounding environment. As such, we have enlisted the expertise of Oz Jeffries, a renowned professional in the industry. Supplementary details on Oz's expertise can be found within page 79 of the supplementary agenda. Oz heads up a company called AudioFeed that specialises in noise management strategy and implementation. His team is independent of the festival and works closely alongside the council. He is working in collaboration with the Environmental Health Officer, Sonia Hildebrandt, and they are developing a comprehensive noise management plan to address all the policies requirements, a working version of which can be found in the supplementary agenda on page 61 to 77. Details regarding the sound management approach and the measures we have in place can be found in page 47 of the Appendix 3 SAG minutes and page 61 to 77 of the supplementary agenda. It's worth noting that AudioFeed produced and delivered our previous noise management plan and that previous events received support from the North Norfolk District Council on the basis of successful noise management strategies as well as positive status and impact with local residents, details of which can be found on pages 51 and 52 of Appendix 3 and page 221 and 223 of Appendix 6. I'm now going to pass over to Oren, who's going to discuss the issues of traffic and close this statement.
Thank you, Angus. Regarding traffic concerns born around the introduction of the festival, we have set out to develop a traffic management system for the area that works efficiently for both locals and the event traffic, as outlined in our licensing objectives, Appendix 2, pages 42 and 43. We acknowledge the rural location of the event, and to address this, we are closely collaborating with Basingstoke and Deane Borough Council Highways Department, as well as the Last Mile, a professional event traffic management consultancy. This dialogue is ongoing and can be seen in the supplementary agenda, chronology of dialogue, under traffic management, page 123. Through these ongoing communications with Ian Ackerman and Lisa Davies from the Highways Agency, as well as Ben Jones from the Last Mile, we're exploring traffic routes and management options, whilst taking into careful consideration the suggestions from the local community, which are noted within Appendix 4, other party representations. We hope to support the local community through creative collaboration, as well as job opportunities for local businesses and individuals, all of which we have done successfully in Norfolk previously. This can also be shown in the chronology of dialogue, as well as supporting emails in Appendix 5. We have a history of making annual charitable donations to local organisations. Previously, that has included the North Norfolk Wildlife Trust, and we plan to continue supporting local environmental work through proceeds from initiatives such as reusable cup sales and a car parking fee, both of which can be found on the contents page of our event management plan, which you'll find in supplementary agenda, pages 85. We are committed to upholding these principles and adding value to the local area. Proof of this can be found again within the supplementary agenda, our event management plan contents page, as well as the supporting emails previously mentioned. We are in ongoing talks with Ross Harvey, who is the Arts and Events Manager for Basingstoke and Deane Borough Council, discussing how we can collaborate with local creatives from musicians to artists alike, details of which are noted in the chronology of dialogue again. We have also received support from locals who have attended the festival in Norfolk, as well as requests to work at the Kingsmore, as well as requests from them to work at the Kingsmore Copse event. A number of these can be found under supporting emails again. Ensuring the safety and security of guests as well as locals is of utmost importance to us, both on and off-site. We are collaborating effectively with the emergency services to produce an event management plan, again documented in the SAG minutes, as well as our chronology of dialogue. We are confident that our meticulous planning and collaboration with the relevant authorities will ensure the successful promotion of the licensing objectives, which can again be found at Appendix 2, Licensing Objectives, page 42 and 43. We propose that our license is contingent upon the approval of our noise management plan, as well as the traffic management plan specifically, by the relevant authorities ahead of the festival, guaranteeing that all essential measures are in place. We would like to engage in future parish council meetings to share updates, answer questions, and ensure that the local communities are well informed of our plans and receive this information directly from us rather than a third-party source. To give some visual aid on what the festival is all about and a further introduction to who we are, and what we do, I urge you to have a look through an introduction to Cosmic Roots, which can be found within the supplementary agenda, in fact, right at the very beginning. Together, we hope to create an unforgettable experience whilst respecting the needs and aspirations of the people of Basingstoke and Deane and the local areas. We hope to flourish with the people, communities and business that make up Basingstoke and Deane and be an important part of its prosperous future vision. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Now, did you have any questions that you wanted to ask of anybody at the moment, or? Right. Okay. I'd like to now move to, we've had 6 people come forward to speak. So the first one I have on the list is Mark Thomas. So is Mark here? Oh. Okay, thank you, Mark. Right, if you'd like to speak, we've got a guideline of about 5 minutes, but obviously if you go over, we're not going to be very dictatorial about anything like that.
That's it. Thank you. Good morning. Firstly, I live in Ellisfield. I live approximately 2 kilometres from the proposed site and near to Bushy Warren Lane, which is where one of the main points of access has been proposed for the vehicle access for the public ingress and egress. Personally, if I was going to the festival or I had friends or members of my family who wanted to attend, I'd really want to know that the journey there to the festival site and back was going to be a safe one. And to me, that's the fundamental problem here, and that is the site location that is proposed. I've taken account of what Oren has said. I'm going to touch on some of the traffic management aspects in a moment. But I would say to you that I think it's the wrong location. It presents a risk to public safety, both for festival goers and local residents. I believe your previous festivals held in Norfolk were fairly near to a main road and access less than half a mile from that main road via a private track. Contrasting that with Kingsmore Copse, which is several miles from any of the main roads, all of which have problems, and that's been noted by Hampshire Highways in the traffic management report. I think one accident is too many, and if you run the risk of a serious accident or at worst a fatality, that is going to be a terrible thing to happen, I think, for the festival itself and obviously for the locality. I've looked at the off-site traffic management plan, and Hampshire Highways have presented a number of options for the main volume of traffic, which will be obviously the public ingress and egress from the site during the days of the festival. They've discounted an option which routed the traffic through Cliddesden and past the school, which is obviously very valid. It's quite a dangerous area in terms of narrow lanes and blind bends. But the option they've chosen, from what I can read from the traffic management report, is then to route the traffic off the 339 at the access point which goes into Ellisfield, where I live, at the Violi recycling plant, and then past the Heriot biodigester, following Bushy Warren Lane, and then it turns into College Lane, Church Lane, to access the site entrance then. Now, I can tell you, despite what is inferred that this is a less risky route in terms of that would have the narrow lanes with lacking of passing places for vehicles, that's simply not the case. If you go past the AD plant, which is where the heavy goods vehicles stop, you've then got a straight route, which is single track. So there are passing places there for vehicles to move over into the verge. You've then got single track all the way up to Church Lane. And Church Lane in itself is a really winding single track lane. It's got lots of blind bends. Local traffic is fairly light because we talked about less than 20 houses on the entire route. But what it is extensively used by is cyclists. It forms part of the Route 23 National Cycling Network. It's used by walkers, runners, and I would highlight that the time the festival was proposed, that's the peak training time for the Basingstoke half marathon runners. And guess what? It goes through Church Lane. That's part of the route. You also see people riding horses, and it's quite heavily used by walkers. It's a nice sort of rural setting, and certainly since the pandemic, we found more and more people are using the village in terms of the amenity of just walking in a rural community. So I put to you that 700 vehicle movements, which is what I think the traffic management plan is highlighting, because we're talking 350 vehicles over the course of the 2 days, potentially accessing the site. So that's in and out. You're talking about 700 vehicle movements. You've only got to have one driver who doesn't know the area. There are going to be lots of people who are going to be unfamiliar with the narrow lanes. It's not signposted with speed limits. So potentially you could have somebody driving in excess of the speed of what is a natural speed limit, if you like, colliding with a group of cyclists or a walker or a horse rider or a runner. And as I say, re-emphasising, I think you risk the danger of a serious accident. So I've seen some of the mitigation steps which you've highlighted for car sharing and obviously putting signs up. Well, car sharing is all very well, but a £10 parking toll for people of less than 3 vehicles in a vehicle is not going to put off people who are going to pay ticket prices and glamping, I would suggest. And finally, signage. Well, signage is fine, but everyone uses sat-nav systems, and satellite navigation systems tend to route people from all over the place and in many strange ways to find the site entrance. So in conclusion, and I'm sorry to keep re-emphasising it, I think one accident is too many. I would hate to contemplate that, and I would put the question, would you want to contemplate it? Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Okay, we're going to go through let each person speak, and then we'll do questions at the end. I think that makes the most sense. So the next person I have on the list is Gordon Dunce. person on the list is
Winslade, and I'm representing Winslade production cars and vans down Winslade Blind Corner. It's dangerous. It is either direction, whether they're coming from Basingstoke or Alton. In that thing, you could get one car in while one car is waiting to go out. After that, it's difficult. This is also a boat, so it's used a lot by cyclists and walkers. And another thing is if a high vehicle turned, how the festival intend to monitor this entrance for the duration of the build, for the festival, and then the breakdown. Because will they have a man in a high-vis jacket standing there for 24 hours a day for 2-3 weeks? And how will they monitor, check the safety of people walking up and down it? There's also another boat and single track lane that's further on down the 339, which goes past Swallock Farm. Probably can't see. How does the Cosmic Route intend to monitor, not to monitor that one, sorry. This will attract traffic, probably, trying to avoid congestion at the festival and on the 339, especially as this track leads to within 0.5k of the site. It would also be a convenient gate crashing route into the festival. And as Gordon, I'd like the same clarity on the noise. What is it going to be inaudible after 11, or as it says in the minutes of the meeting, or not, as it says in the paper sent out by audio feed? I'd just like to say I'm a resident within 0.5 of a kilometre of the site, and I received no communication from Cosmic Routes at all on this whole matter. Found out about it word of mouth about 4 weeks ago, which, considering apparently it's been on the cars since 2022, I think is a bit amazing, considering I live so close. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Emma. Next person is Simon Barker.
Good morning, Chair. So I'm Simon Barker. I'm a resident of Cliddesden. I'm also a Cliddesden Parish Councillor, and I'd like to begin by endorsing everything that those that have spoken before me have said. Hopefully speed this up a little bit and not repeat everything that's already been covered. I would like to pick up on a point that Gordon made, and I'd made my same note while the applicant was speaking. I can't challenge their audio feed independent expert. I will take it on face value that they are an expert and they will mitigate it to the best of their power. The traffic, I do, like others have already said, still have grave concerns over the safety and also the public nuisance which will be generated by the traffic, and also the ongoing emergency incident plan. And the key thing for those three key points, which I think everyone will agree form the basis of the majority of the arguments against, is the plan is still being worked, and we are less than 2 months away from the event. So the applicant is effectively asking everyone to jump on board on trust. And I'm not questioning anyone's integrity, but they thought they had a traffic management plan when they submitted the initial application. And they hadn't checked to see that the heavy goods vehicles for the 2 biodigesters either side of the site are not allowed to route through the villages because the village roads are not capable of taking sustained heavy traffic. I'd also like to pick up on the emergency incident plan, and from what I've seen and read of it, it focuses on an emergency incident on the site, which absolutely makes sense because that's all the organisers can control. With the amount of traffic and the likely congestion and disruption that will cause, what is the emergency incident plan for a 999 call to one of the hundreds of residents in and around Ellisfield, Cliddesden, Winslade and further afield that will be affected? And the last point I'd like to make, and again Emma touched on it previously, the security aspect and the prevention of crime. The site they've chosen is bounded by the Three Castles path, It has 2 byways open to all traffic. As people have already mentioned, it is peak training time for the Basingstoke Half Marathon. Regardless of that, those byways, the footpaths and indeed the lanes are used regularly by walkers, cyclists, horse riders, vulnerable road users, and I genuinely struggle to see, with 8 weeks to go, how they can generate a safe traffic management plan that looks after all those people. Bearing in mind, I believe TTRO deadline has probably slipped now, or is coming up very, very close. If they did want to, as has been suggested previously, do things like legally enforceable speed limits, legally enforceable one-way systems. But that is it. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. I think, I was going to say somebody else had a thing on. Right. And next person, Alan Tyler.
Thank you, Chair. My name is Alan Tyler. I'm Chair of the Cliddeston Parish Council, and I'm speaking obviously on behalf of the Parish Council. We've submitted a full objection, but I won't go over those points, just to highlight a couple of points. Many have been made, but I think they're worth doing again. First one is about protection of children from harm. We talked about Cliddeston Primary School. It lies on Northgate Lane, which is halfway between Ellisfield and Cliddeston. It's on a very narrow lane. There are 111 children there, and it will be operational during both the build and the first day of the festival. And if the festival goes ahead next year, it will be operational on the day that they all come out. Now, the school, as I said, is very narrow lanes, 3 metres wide in places, no pavements, high banks, few passing places. We already have problems with mothers bringing children to school in their cars, and we've had loads of small incidents. I really do not want to have a problem where we've got different people who don't know the roads coming through there at speeds or whatever. It is very worrying for us, that particular area. In terms of health and safety or safety of the public, interesting to note that Basingstoke and Deans already, they don't allow their operatives to do litter picking around the narrow roads around the lanes without closing those lanes. So if it's not safe for operatives to work in there, it's hardly safe for the public generally when there is going to be so much more traffic running around there. We did have a worry, we still have a worry about the licensing times. We have a license for the village hall and it closes at 12 o'clock. And it closes because it's harmful to, or it's going to cause nuisance to the general public or the local public. Why does this one go until dawn? Question. The final point, though, is the traffic one, and that is to say, should you wish to grant this licence, can we only have one safe access into the site? And that safe access is available. It should be off Junction 7, going up to the anaerobic digester on Garlick Lane, which is due for heavy vehicles anyhow. It then goes straight up Garlick Lane, through Farley Wallop and down to the site. Now, those roads are all could all be made one way if necessary, because they do not serve, they can all be used, other lanes could be used to serve the local population. So it will be a safe route in and out. It's the only route that doesn't go through any of the villages. It's the only route that does not go past the school. And if you did go that way, please, can we have signs right round the area saying, this is the only way in, the other ways are all prohibited. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And last but not least, Lucy Kendall. Oh, she's not here, sorry, okay, thank you. Right, I think that's, oh, she is, oh, sorry. Oh, okay, thank you, sorry, Lucy. Just thrown me now. Right, so I think if the applicant would like to comment on any of those on those points people have raised and possibly respond to any questions as well, that would be lovely. Thank you.
Sorry. Mark, Gordon, Emma, Simon and Alan, thank you for raising those concerns and representations. I'm going to do my best to sort of run through the three main points that have been raised, and I'll start with noise, seeing as that's where I began last time. The definition of inaudible that, Gordon, you mentioned has since been discussed with Sonia, the EHO, and Oz. Now, Oz is going to conduct a 24-hour noise survey to get a background noise check, and from that we will then get our inaudible definition. And in inaudible, it is it's slightly up in the air and based on the jurisdiction of a site, and it is a measure taken from the nearest property. So that would be the Northgate Cattery, which is on Northgate Lane at the entrance to the festival site. Alan, yeah. Is it allowed?
If we could let him finish, and then we'll... Thank
Cool.
you.
Hand with light shows. So we need to try and, for our reputation as being a good on-site light kind of show, where everything is contained and ran through with our lighting teams to be safe and not spill into the surrounding areas, this later hour of operation really suits kind of the culture of the festival and the music surrounding it. Moving on to the traffic, it sounds like you guys might not have seen the updated traffic management plan that does not involve any route through Cliddlesden or Ellisfield. This got sent. As I mentioned, there are no routes through Cliddlesden or Ellisfield, and since the SAG meeting, we have had further discussions with the Last Mile at a professional event traffic management company who are going to sort of verify and help us ensure that the right signage is in place, potentially speed limits, traffic light systems, and yeah, we're working with them to get that done as soon as possible. We have a meeting with them later this week to finalise those plans. Simon and Emma, I believe you kind of touched on the incident emergency plans and sort of what we have in place in terms of the security plans, the litter, and I'd like to go back to the SAG meeting minutes where the police have raised no concern for the event. I would assume they would only do this if they are happy with the management of their roles outside of the festival. If they believed there to be a concern, they would have maybe suggested that they can't handle the pressure that the festival brings to them. So hopefully that eases the concern and anxiety for their involvement. The security plan is detailed within our EMP. For private reasons to us, we don't want to share that document publicly with everyone, but you can see the contents and index of that document. The EMP is our key to operations, let's call it, and if we share that document publicly, anyone can take it and know exactly how to run a festival. And we like to think we do that pretty damn well. The litter comment, totally understand that it's hard for people to litter pick on single narrow streets. Totally understandable. We have a dedicated 24-hour litter picking team on site, so the litter spill from our site and kind of onto the local area is going to be very minimal, if not none. These guys are amazing. We run on-site recycling facilities and try and include the event public who come to the event to share with them recycling initiatives that we put in place. It's worked really well for us in the past, and people actually love being a part of it. It's a testament to our crowd and the type of people that we want to come to this festival and share the event with. Touching back on, I should have looped this into the traffic comment and it not going through the Cliddlesden or Ellisfield. So the protection of children, we're trying our best. We're moving it away from the school lanes and putting all the measures in place to try and mitigate any sort of problems there. I'll pass it over to any of the boys if they want to say anything extra. Thank you.
Yeah, I think just on that point, it is an 18-plus event, so obviously that mitigates children, hopefully from coming into the site, and we are doing everything in our power to redirect traffic away from the school and make it as safe as possible, using the measures that Angus has just described. I think going back to noise, just to fill you in a bit more about Oz and kind of the measures that he takes to ensure that noise propagation doesn't happen. We've got stuff like tented structures, hay bales, stage directions that are all factored into his sound mapping, as well as topography, and even at a later stage, weather conditions. On top of that, he uses very advanced technology such as SPL tracking. This is a method, well, it's like an industry state-of-the-art method of tracking noise on-site and off-site and ensuring that any fluctuations in decibel readings at any places are kind of proactively managed during the whole duration of the event. On top of that, there are things called quadraphonic systems. This is basically using 4 speakers at stage locations, and the positioning of them, they're worked out mathematically so that actual sound waves cancel out one another and do not exceed the boundaries of the venue. I think that's all I wanted to say on noise. Just to touch on traffic and kind of go back to that. We've got, on top of all the kind of methods of implementation and the comprehensive signage that Alan spoke about, which I totally agree with and is a great point. We have a few initiatives. We have the lift sharing scheme, as well as we're looking into shuttle bus options from the local station and bus options from cities, which should also help alleviate traffic on the roads. I think those are the points that I wanted to add.
That's everything from me.
Yeah, just to carry on with the traffic. Yes, we are currently working with the highways and a traffic management company. It's not set in stone yet, but it's one of our major concerns. As Oren has just mentioned, shuttle buses we are focusing on from the train station of Basingstoke. This will alleviate pressure on the roads. It will help us get cars into site because there'll be less of them. And also the drivers of the buses will be well informed of the directions. So it's something that we're really pushing for. We're also touching on about the £10 car parking fee. That was used at our last site, but as was spoken about, it wasn't so hard for the vehicles to get on site straight from the A road. So we are looking at increased ticket prices for vehicles and reduced ticket prices for traffic coming into site via trains and shuttle buses. All the parking fee goes to a local charity, as was spoken about. We donated to Norfolk Wildlife Trust, Children in Nature Fund. We have been doing that for the last 3 years. The events, we are looking for charities and we'll take considerations. So, yeah, that's all I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Gordon, did you want to have a quick question on any of that? I've got a few questions myself, but you did put your hand up before. Would you like to put your mic on if you want to respond?
Well, I'll quickly touch on the batteries. So we're already in contact with a company who are looking to reuse London electric bus batteries. And there's a sort of circular economy approach, which is a bit of a green initiative. And beyond the 10 years of a battery, they are no longer allowed to be used. And so there's about a 1 billion yearly investment on the circular economy approach to reusing these for different purposes, such as providing energy sources in a greener way.
So I applaud that.
They are hydrogen.
Committed.
Excuse me, can we
People say it's okay.
can we just go through the chair one at a time, please? Thank you.
I believe these batteries are actually hydrogen, not lead acid. So these are ongoing conversations we're having to try and create a greener environment for our festival. I can't promise you that we are going to use London bus batteries to run the event. So in a most likely event, it's going to be a diesel generator. We've been doing it for years. A lot of events across the country use diesel generators. It's been a standard. Sadly, we were allowed to use red diesel. The price of we're not allowed to use red diesel on sites anymore, so we have to use white. That has increased our prices dramatically of running events. So we've got to start looking. There's solar options out there at the moment. I'm trying to put solar on my house. It's expensive. So for us, it's an economies of scale thing at the same time as trying to do something that's environmentally beneficial.
Having said that, we do have a lot of green initiatives. We use compost loos, which again is a major expense to us, but we believe it to be quite important. We also have a reusable cup system. We actually came up with the idea of attaching a carabiner to these cups so that people wouldn't lose them around the festival site. And that's actually, we've seen a significant reduction in litter across site. Yeah, I think that's a real positive.
I'd like to mention the updated traffic management plan is on page 99 of the supplementary. If you don't have a copy, you can pass this one around. Sure.
Just touch on the coaches. I'm in touch with Coach Hire Basingstoke, and we're looking at their 72 and 48 seaters to run from the train station.
Touching on that, the concern of the narrow roads.
Sorry, can we can we make sure we have one mic on at a time, because it messes with the webcast.
Sorry.
And also make sure one person speaks at a time clearly. Just
on that, the bus sizes, the lanes through Farley Wallop, Garlick Lane, Gramersham Lane, and the Northgate category are all used by digester traffic and farm traffic, of which I don't know about you guys, but I've seen some pretty big trailers and tractors carrying hay bales that make buses look quite small.
I just want to remind people obviously the green credentials are very important to all of us, but we've got to keep sticking to the licensing objectives. So thank you. I'm going to ask a few questions as well. So obviously people have already raised the issue about the noise at night. We've talked about that one. One point I was wondering about was around the potential campsite noise and whether that's been included within your noise reduction areas and how that is managed. And there was another one around, I believe obviously the SAG has highlighted that there's no concerns around fire, but I was just wondering what the policy you had was on disposable barbecues, because we've known obviously carbon monoxide and obviously the risk, and then again, although it's not part of this, the environmental impact. And also I looked at the supplementary stuff and looking at the actual toilet facilities, which potentially could have an impact on public nuisance. Compost toilets, great, nothing wrong with them, but I just wonder, was there adequate toilet facilities? Because it's very difficult to see on the map, but I couldn't work out, it was just like 2 toilets and 1 urinal, which struck me as possibly being not enough. And obviously the bus shuttle plans you already talked about. Thank you.
So we have a strict no disposable barbecue policy that is found in a detailed event management plan. Campsite noise, we allow no one to bring on any supplementary speakers of personal use. So noise that is kept in a campsite will be sort of murmurs of voices and hopefully people sleeping. It would be very surprising if the noise of the campsite override the inaudible noise at the cattery. Toilets, yes, you're right. You can't see exactly where all the toilets are. The amazing thing about compost loos is you need less of them compared to the traditional portaloos. They are able to hold a lot more waste and be a manageable thing. Sounds ridiculous, but they use them at a wide range of festivals: Glastonbury, Houghton, Gotwood, Wireless, you name it. You're pretty much seeing a compost loo at all of these places now, and less of them in comparison to portaloos. They smell less than portaloos, they look nicer, and until you use one, you will be kind of a bit bemused by it, but once you see them in action, they are amazing facilities.
May I just add that we can ensure that there'll be adequate amounts of these loos.
Yeah.
And secondly, the noise is managed 24/7. So any noise that's part of the campsite is monitored in the same way that any noise would have been in the festival hours.
I'd also like to mention on that noise thing, we haven't actually touched on sort of the locations of these sound monitoring systems. Oz is in, as I've said, in direct contact with the EHO, and if any resident would want a sound monitoring system put in at their house so we can actively record it there throughout the weekend, we are able to do this. And we will have an off-site sound management team going around these points of interest and making sure that it is correct, that the residents are happy, that, you know, we are following all of the things we've set out to do in the licensing objectives. Thank you.
Thank you. There was also another point around if you could clarify the actual route of traffic, I think, because there's been a lot of talk about what the actual route is and saying where you're not going and all the rest of it. So just for everybody here, they can understand that one. And I think somebody also in their talk mentioned comment about the actual site security monitoring and how that would be done for entrances and potential breach points. So I know you've got Heroes fencing going up and things, but if you could also clarify that as well for everybody. Thank you.
Sure, I'll maybe touch on the traffic and then pass over to Harry to run through security accreditation and that sort of aspect, how it runs throughout the weekend. So currently we have traffic turning off the M3 at junction 7 onto the A30 northbound towards Basingstoke. They will then be going off the roundabout onto Woodbury Lane, over the bridge onto Garlick Lane, through Farley Wallop, Grammersham Lane, and then onto the Northgate Cattery. This route is used from farm traffic for the estate and through the biodigester traffic that comes off the M3. We are in discussion about making this on the ingress a one-way system, and then on the egress making it a one-way system the other way. Again, at the moment, these are preliminary plans that we have passed through the Highways Agency and the Last Mile, and as I mentioned earlier, we have a meeting later on in the week with them to finalise this plan and ensure that all parties are happy. Throughout these routes, there are well-signed directions for traffic, as well as potential traffic light systems, temporary speed limits, and also through Cliddleston and Ellisfield, we can put no entrance to festival signs. I am going to attend a festival on the weekend, and I know that they have had a very similar problem with traffic management, and they specifically, in their pre-event documentation, state very clearly that you are to avoid X and Y villages, and it is of utmost importance, and they will have specific signage in those locations to ensure this happens. And we can hope the best. To Harry.
Thank you, Angus. Touching on security, so when we write our security plan, we will agree it with the estate and ensure that they are happy from their side. We will also agree it with the council and ensure that they are happy on their side too. Once all three parties are happy, we will implement our security plan using SIA licensed officers. We have roaming officers and we also have fixed position officers, all of which is 24 hours a day. During our last year, we did have roaming officers on public paths as well, but we don't have any of this at Farley Wallop. Yeah, I think that's all we can really say on that. Anything else to add?
Yeah, I'll touch on the accreditation process for when we've taken main bulk of traffic and our guests into the car park, and then there'll be a, Disney lane crowd control measures before people go to their accreditation search lanes, which will be conducted by these SIA registered security guards. These guys are searching for all the substances that we ban from the festival. This includes drugs, laser pens, speakers, disposable barbecues, so on. The list is listed in our EMP, and we ensure that this is a tight operation and there is no trouble brought in or contraband brought in from outside of the festival to put people at harm within the festival. And then those people that Harry mentioned are in position and patrolling to ensure that the general safety and observation is kind of carried out. We also have on site dedicated medical teams, which previously we've had 2 ambulances on site, 2 registered doctors, and we set up individual, I think previously we've had 4 individual bays to deal with any incident on site. We have a very good proven track record of no incidents leaving the site. We're able to deal with most of them on the site, and we've been very lucky that all of these have been minor incidences and nothing major.
Just to add to that, if I may, in 3 years of the operation that we ran up in Norfolk, there was only one recorded incident in which it was actually a product of our additional red band scheme, which is where elected individuals by us, we give an LED wristband to provide an additional layer of communication between festival attendees and the organisers, should they encounter any kind of problem. And we run a strict policy of no transphobia, no racism, and no leering, and the list goes on. So should that ever happen, we have a scheme in place. And we had one incident in 2021 in which we, myself and Harry, got the police involved and immediately ejected the festival attendee who was providing a problem.
Is it Emma?
Yes.
So that is still potentially an option for us to just bring production traffic, which is the lowest impact of traffic on the site, and it will only be in the build and in the break, which during the actual festival and that weekend, there will be no traffic coming in and out of that route.
Have you driven down there? Have you gone
Yes.
and seen it?
Yeah.
Seen how narrow it is?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
A question on process and policy. So when I spoke earlier, I mentioned there's lots of good noise about good work that is ongoing around traffic, noise, etc., etc. So the safety advisory group, it was mentioned, I think, by yourself, Chair, that the fire safety have given it the green light to go ahead. In this meeting today, we've then been discussing a large battery field. I'm not 100% sure what London buses were running, but if they are just coming to the end of their 10-year life, I will suggest they are lithium-ion batteries. The reason they are taking out the buses at 10 years is because they provide a reduced efficiency in terms of the amount of time they hold the charge, the level of charge they hold, and also because 99% of lithium-ion battery manufacturers will not guarantee them beyond 10 years or X number of cycles because they have a nasty habit of catching fire. My point being, there's been lots of discussion around what is going to be done in order to make this happen. Things like that, does that mean the safety advisory group then get to inspect the homework, if you like, and make a decision.
I'll look to our licensing officer.
Yeah. After the advisory group meeting, there was positive commitment from all the agencies to work with the directors. We want to be updated with all the progress of that. There will be a pre-event sort of site inspection as well. The fire officer was positive in that with the access. I don't think we went into the detail of the point that you've raised regarding the batteries. We're quite happy to obviously, work with them on that as well. So we can take that back to it. The members is something I wanted to clarify as a point, in that if the members were minded, if the members were granted to grant the application, you can include as licence conditions approved policies for matters that are relevant to the licensing objectives. So for things like the public safety, for the event management plan, that's something that you can put as a stipulation that has to be an approved policy with the relevant authorities, which is sort of quite common for events. So if there's anything that the power of the event, let's say, isn't necessarily a licensable activity, but within the event management and policy, it's something that could be agreed with the fire authority and the applicants.
Thank you. So I think obviously we have to take some of these concerns into effect, and obviously we'll discuss that outside. Is there any other questions people have or concerns that they'd like answers on?
So it's a periodic thing where we arrive on the site 2 weeks before the commencement date of the live event. This is with a low volume of production crew. Myself and probably 2 of the other directors here will join from the very get-go. This will slowly increase to no more than, say, 40 people for this year before the event starts. And then we have a strict, with the estate, contract day to be out, which is 1 week after the event. Thank you.
Thank you. I saw the lady at the back, I think.
Yes, I actually met your sister, and we believe that the one-way system on the Northgate Cattery still allows an entrance into that business and an exit through Cliddleston. We're not, you guys can still do the Cliddleston route. We're just not taking our event traffic through there. So you can come in through Ellisfield as well, and you can come in through Farley Wallop.
Sorry, I might not have understood it. So anybody who's visiting to drop off cats during that period, will they have to join the queue of 250 or 300 whatever cars coming through to drop off their cats?
No. There should be no queue in that thing anyway, because as soon as they reach the site, we're taking them off the site, and then they get dealt with off-site. So there will be no queuing on public highways.
Sorry, how do they actually enter the site then without going past the Cattery? Sorry, I'm not clear.
So yes, they will go past the Cattery.
So they will impact the Cattery customers and the local business.
There will be traffic past the Cattery, yes, but basically with our car park, what we do is we create a system that allows cars to go round the car park and then park. This actually alleviates pressure on the road. So if you imagine you've got almost like, we call them Disney lanes, which wind people around. This actually means you can get a lot of cars into the car park and off the road before actually parking them. So the actual road itself should be clear of traffic.
Is that this other lady?
Right, sorry. Yeah, I was just wondering, you're going to use Garlic Lane, you're suggesting to use that. Well, if you come past Farley Estate House on your, let me get this right, on my right, then you come past the house which is being renovated by Lord Lymington on your left. If you turn directly left there, past his old barn, there is a track down there, and I don't see why you can't take traffic down that track. And then you're totally avoiding, and you can go through the fields and through the tracks that way, and you can totally avoid then, I would have thought, Northgate Cattery. That's what I think would be possibly even better. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the suggestion. We'll definitely look into that with the relevant bodies and with the estate. But that's the decision that I guess we cannot make ourselves. It requires multiple parties, but we'll definitely look into it, and thank you very much for the suggestion.
Andrew.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chair. Just a couple of points for clarification, really. As the licensing authority, we would want to be able to identify who the persons responsible for the licensable activities are. So I really just wanted to know about your sort of presence, your individual presence at the event, and kind of a bit about the live decision-making process. So if there were an incident, or if it was, there was a noise management issue that was identified at source, how does that decision get made and what actions are taken? So as far as I'm aware from the SAG, you guys are all on site and you are kind of, you are around the site. So just for clarification and maybe some assurance as well, if we're on site, who do we go to about an issue?
Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, we are all on site. We probably will work in shift patterns because, as you can imagine, there's a lot of hours to cover. But yeah, we generally set up an office, and that office is generally manned 24 hours a day. That's kind of our central hub where everything goes through. We have a radio system that keeps us in contact with all of the kind of relevant managers across the site. So that's from security to noise to stage managers, medical, the list goes on. And I think a great example is a noise-related issue that happens off-site. Someone can hear it. It's above an inaudible level. And what we do provide, or actually what the independent noise management company provides, is a direct line of contact. We would urge people to use this because contacting the council, contacting the police, contacting anyone else actually puts a lot of pressure on that, and also the situation gets sorted out a lot less quickly. So systems like that actually allow residents a direct line to management is something that we definitely promote. And it's the same with medical and fire services. We have medical teams. They're in direct contact with us. Any incidents that happen will get filtered to us straight away.
How do residents find?
It will be published before the event. And we also distribute it to parish councils, so they can then forward it on to anyone and everyone in their parish.
Sorry, can you address comments through the chair? Emma, and put your microphone on. It's all right, no worries, carry on.
I just suddenly thought, if we're a noise-sensitive premises, will the person doing it, will Oz come and see us and say hello?
Definitely, Oz would love to come see anyone that has any concerns about the noise.
But prior to the event, I mean, hopefully
yes,
we won't need to see him during the event.
Yeah,
if he
prior
does
to
his
the
job
event,
properly.
and as Angus mentioned, we'd be very happy to set up noise monitors in areas of, people's residence that have concern. It's a really effective way of managing the noise. So anyone that would and could come forward, we'd love to hear from.
Okay, I think, we've got another question. I think this lady. first.
I live in Ellisfield. If this licence were granted, it's talking about an annual event. What mechanism is there for withdrawing the licence if the event is, as we all fear it will be, i.e. not a great success for us, or there's a problem on the lane, or something happens that we've been talking about at the meeting?
Thank you. There's the premise licence review mechanism, which can be called by the authorities or residents. It's seen as a kind of like a last resort measure because you want to make sure that you've done everything you can, and the review can be used to tweak conditions or to look at the hours that are authorised, etc. But before review, the Licensing Act does encourage engagement between all parties as well. So I'm talking hypothetically, if the event were granted and there was something that happened that the licence didn't cover for, the mischief could be addressed by the licensing authority, looking at the complaints, working with the with the sort of the applicants, seeing what's happened, why it happened, how it happened, etc. And then we would look to work with the applicant to see whether, we can amend the licence without having to go through formal hearings. They can do a variation application. It can add conditions, those type of matters. But the only way, the formal way, if you like, that if it was a horrendous event and and that determined that there was enough evidence to go to a licence review application, that is the legal process under the Licensing Act.
Thank you. Did I see, I think it was, sorry, and I've got this gentleman, and Andrew, did you want to speak to finish or something on?
I just wanted to raise those 2 points. So I did raise my first point, and then I know it stimulated another question. I mean, I just really wanted to make the point that communications for me seems to be sort of key. And I think that the way that the event is planned and when it's all finalised, it's really key to the engagement with the customers and how sort of the code of conduct or the arrival, the traffic system, the ticketing system, the code of conduct on the campsite, for instance. All of those things, it's really important that those things are made clear within the ticketing information, I suppose. Which now, because of the internet, I know that you'll get a physical ticket or you get a barcode or scan or whatever, but there's so much that can be made clear so that people come into the event, know in advance the way that they have to come into the event, the way they have to leave the event, how they're going to pay, they can't take barbecues, etc. Those are all sort of, key to the communication, I think, is really an important factor. So, just a comment.
Thank you. And this gentleman.
Thank you for raising that. All of our plans for food and drink are within our EMP. Again, don't really want to give people keys to the castle, but what I would say is that I'm actually a chef, professional chef, and I definitely look into the food and drink side of things quite deeply. So there will be provisions for people, and more information on that we'd be happy to discuss at parish meetings if it's something of importance.
If you'll have us.
Thank you. Oh, lady at the back.
So yeah, all illegal substances are banned from our venue. Outside of that, it's a policing matter that would be dealt with by their hands anywhere else in the country. On site, it is a legal substance to have, and we ban it.
Yeah, there are security, as Harry was mentioning, on accreditation. This is the only place where attendees can enter and exit. They are searched on re-entry as well. It's not like they get searched once and then they have a free pass in and out. They are searched every time they come in. And we also encourage our security to look at the state of people when they are leaving the site, because that's, although it's not necessarily our legal remit, I do feel like we have a responsibility to our attendees, and we're very hot on our security team to manage that. Yes, security are in the car parks and at accreditation, yes.
So you'll be checking people as they go to the car parks?
Yes.
So will that hold people up going into the car parks off the main road?
No, the cars will be pulled off the road into the car park and they will then be parked.
Is that okay? Do we have any other questions before we sum up?
Peter Rain, I live in Ellisfield. From time to time, the A339 is closed because there's an accident on it. As a result of that, traffic comes through the village. I wonder what contingency plans have been made should the exit or should the traffic from the A339 come through the village because of an accident.
We'll definitely look into contingency plans with our professional traffic management consultant.
Okay, I think I think we're probably okay on everything from here. So I think we're going to now. What we want to do is do the summing up. So the first thing we have. Oh, sorry, my colleague here would like to ask a question.
Yeah, I wasn't very clear about the shuttle bus aspect of your plan. It seemed to be a bit sort of airy-fairy, we're in talks with, but there didn't seem to be any definite answer there. I would like more detail. Is there how frequently it would be, for instance? And are you expecting most of the people to arrive at the beginning of the festival and go at the end, or do people, excuse me, come and go in between times, including from their cars? And I'm thinking about the traffic on the roads there.
Sure, I think it's something that we are looking into. We can't confirm this before we've got a license, because otherwise this event can't go ahead. So we are looking into this. Our main area is looking at a shuttle bus service from Basingstoke train station, and timing it with the train times, especially from London. This allows a lot of people to get on a bus at once and come to the site in one vehicle, thus alleviating pressure on the roads. We have further meetings with them. We have a dialogue with them in our email chain.
Can be found in the chronology of dialogue.
Yeah, it can be found in the chronology of dialogue. But yeah, obviously we can't confirm booking them until we have the premise license, and therefore can go ahead with the event.
On that, to answer your other question about the egress of people over the weekend, or do they come at the beginning? Most of our crowd are committed to coming on the first day and staying and remaining on site until the last day. This makes traffic management actually a lot easier for us, because they come in one day and we don't have to worry about it being staggered all the way over a weekend and deal with build-ups kind of over a weekend if and when one might occur. So yeah, it's more of a one hit, everyone in, one hit, everyone out.
Okay, I think we'll move to summing up then. So if licensing would like to do their sum up first, and then we'll do the applicant and then any members of the public that want to sum up that were speaking, and then we'll do the applicant at the end.
Thank you, Chair. So I don't propose to repeat my introductory points. After hearing from all parties, it is now for the licensing subcommittee to determine the application by taking the steps they consider appropriate to promote the licensing objectives. The options come under section 18(4) of the Licensing Act 2003, shown in paragraph 5.3 of the report. The subcommittee must determine the application within 5 working days of today's hearing and publish a decision notice. The decision notice must include reasons behind the determination and include justification to depart from the council's statement of licensing policy if they decide to depart from the policy. Members are entitled to include approved event management plans, such as a traffic management or noise management policy, as part of a licence condition, should the committee determine to grant the application as applied for or on a modified basis. The decision notice needs to be served to the parties listed in paragraph 5.4 of the report. Thank you.
Thank you. Right, were there any of the speakers that wish to sum up? Okay, so I'll pass it. Oh, sorry, go on. Gordon?
I think I've heard a modification to the traffic plan. I think I've heard a redefinition of the word inaudible. Please, can somebody come and include me in that loop? And I'll leave it up to you to decide what you can do. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Gordon. Right, and over to the applicants.
I think, yeah, we've touched on a lot of things, and yeah, as has been mentioned, it's over to you, councillors. I guess we'd just like to say that we believe the festival will not only be a memorable event for attendees, but contribute positively to the cultural and economic growth of the local area. And we hope, yeah, people agree. Sorry. We believe that Cosmic Roots Festival will be a memorable event for the attendees, but will also contribute positively to the cultural and economic growth of the local area.
Okay, thank you. I think the motion, yes, thank you. Okay, so the last bit I have to read out is that pursuant to section 100A4 of the Local Government Act 1972, the public now need to be excluded from the remainder of the meeting on the ground that the public interest in maintaining the exemption outweighs the public interest in disclosing it, and therefore that exempt information is likely to be disclosed as defined in paragraph 1 of Schedule 12A of the Act. So thank you everybody for coming. I hope everybody had a chance to have a say, and I hope a lot of concerns were addressed. And we will now adjourn to talk about it and go through what we've heard and make our decisions. Thank you.